Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel, Book Time with Elvis with me, Mark. I am, of course, joined by the indomitable Randy Ray from the Literate Texan. As usual, we have a special guest today, which is, well, how would you like to be referred to, Denson or Robin?
Denson. My channel name is Robin Song Read. So I get emails with Denson. I get emails with Robin. However you please. You can make a portmanteau of that if you want, but I'll respond to anything.
So you can see Denson's channel, Robin Song Reads, in the description. So you can head over there and subscribe, of course, if you're not already subscribed to him, which you should be. So there you go.
Oh, you should definitely subscribe to his channel. He's terrific. I think it's fair to say that he's a protege of mine.
Oh, yes.
But even if you don't like my channel, you should still watch his.
No, yeah. Well,
that's funny because Randy's a protege of mine. So, you know.
The long line of succession here. And then Steve Donahue, I think,
Exactly.
So he'll go underneath that, and then Christopher Russell, and then so on.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Russell's. I consider Christopher Russell a protege of mine also. Although I think Steve Donahue would probably fight me for that title.
Yeah.
Is it better this way, do you think, or that way? What do
I think it's better this way.
This way.
I like it better the way you just had it for an instant.
This way.
I think that looks better.
Yeah. Okay, all right then.
I can't get my phone to go landscape, so. But I'll defer to the majority rule here.
No, I agree. So, Denson, tell us a bit about your channel. When did you start, and how long have you been going, and all that kind of stuff? So.
Yeah, I started it last December, I believe, when I was doing some Christmas shopping, and I grabbed a bunch of books. It was the first time actually I'd ever been used book shopping, and I'd been watching BookTube at that point for like a year and a half, seriously at least. And as I was coming home with all those books, I was thinking, oh, you know, if I had a BookTube channel, I'd like make a book haul and talk about this. And that idea really excited me. So I just, I went home, did the BookTube newbie tag, and slowly went on from there with the philosophy of mostly just turning the camera on and talking without editing, which a lot of my favorite booktubers do, and feels kind of like a refreshing pace difference from like the hyper edited world of like TikTok and stuff like that. And of course, there's a happy medium in there too. But yeah, I basically started my channel doing that, and it's kind of mutated, grown, warped, whatnot. As I've gone along, I've done kind of weird musical montages. I'm doing a Moby Dick read along now, but mostly I came to BookTube just to like be with this community. It kind of originated out of coming into this season of life where I graduated from college, and the community of people who I loved were scattered across the planet. And I'm in this kind of middle phase, I'm about to move out of the country and work. And this was a way that I could kind of foster community, or at least join a community. And it's absolutely had a blast meeting people.
And you said you're going to move out of the country, or?
I am. I don't know if I've said this even on my channel yet. It's not a secret or anything like that, but I'm about to teach English in Japan.
I did that.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've got a job lined up and everything. Just kind of waiting for documents and start date to come. But yeah,
I did that, by the way.
So no way, really?
That's how I got started in teaching. I still teach, and I started 20 years ago. First job I got in an eikaiwa in Hokkaido. Are you doing the JET program, or are you going with some language?
ECC is my.
Oh, ECC, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mine's no longer in existence, but yeah.
Yeah, that's so great. That's a coincidence.
Yeah, no, I recommend it. Do you know where you're going?
Not yet. I don't even have the region selected. But my partner's from Japan, so she's looking for a remote job right now, and then they'll provide the housing, and then the idea is to live the dream and just read a bunch in Japan. We'll see. Yeah,
because ECC used to do, I think, if I remember rightly, because they have been around a while, pretty sure they used to concentrate more on little kids. Like, long time ago, I'm talking like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Because a friend of mine did some work for them. But no, it'd be great. Yeah. Your partner's from which area?
She's from Osaka.
Oh, Osaka. Okay. So she speaks the Kansai Osaka Ben, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
My daughter will be so disappointed you're spoken for.
Shame.
My daughter thinks you're cute.
Oh, well, thank you very much. That makes me red.
She's 23. She's lovely.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're all the same age.
I think he was talking about me, actually, just then.
Oh.
So, just before you jumped the gun there.
Oh, yeah. Well, she feels the same way about you, Mark.
Well, that's so great. I mean, do you speak some Japanese, or?
Well, learning. Yesterday I was at the library doing, declarative conjugations. I learned katakana and hiragana, and I'm moving on from there. So it'll be a long, slow process. I basically want to get to the point, at least before I arrive in Japan, to where if you just drop me in the street, I could learn from the environment, sort of. I would know enough to build from the kind of stuff around me. Whereas, like I say to people, if you drop me right now in Saudi Arabia, I couldn't really learn from the environment. Arabic is just meaningless to me. Whereas at this point, I think I could be learning just from being there. But the firmer the footing, the stronger the foundation, the more quickly I'm going to learn when I'm there.
You'll find if you visit like traditional izakaya and things like that, a lot of the menu will be in hiragana anyway, so you will get it. And then if you do, I don't know, karaoke or something, you can sing Japanese songs with, I think it's called furigana, which is hiragana with the kanji with the hiragana on top. Yeah. So I mean, I didn't know anything when I went there, and I felt really backward compared to most of the other foreign friends I'd met, because some of them had studied Japanese at uni and they were very good at it. But I had a very good friend who was about 10 years older than me, and he was living there, and he suggested, just try and carry a small notebook with you wherever you go. And I did that, and very quickly I picked it up, and I suppose meeting a girl from there helped as well, of course. But I really loved it. I was there almost 5 years. So
wow, that's amazing. That's so
Mark and the ladies. Are the viewers typing in the comments yet?
Well, you see, we've got 25 people watching, but we've had only 2 comments. I say only 2 comments. They are only from 2 people, of course. Aaron is here, evening all. Aaron's in the UK, that's why it's evening for him as it is.
Hey, Aaron.
And Christina's here. Good morning from Los Angeles.
Hi, Christina. Good morning.
Wow. Yeah. Global representation.
Definitely. So, of course, people watching, feel free to write some comments. Then some questions, if you like, about his channel. I guess we could start, as per tradition dictates, and just a little bit about what you're currently reading, Randy.
Oh, well, okay. I've got a list. I wrote them down. I juggle multiple books at one time. I'm sorry? I didn't hear you.
Sorry.
Oh, I've got a list. Wow. As usual, I'm juggling multiple books at one time. So I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget any. Let's see. I'm reading a book called Deadpan by Richard Walter. Are you guys familiar with this?
I'm not.
This is part of a project that I'm working on that I haven't really promoted much. It's called Steve Donahue Ate My Brain. Every year, thank you. So every year, Steve Donahue makes top 10 lists in multiple categories, one of which is fiction, just general fiction, which is, one of the genres that I enjoy. And this made his top 10 list for 2024 last year. And it's about a Jewish car salesman in a small town in the 1970s who starts, now, I don't know, I haven't finished it yet. And spoiler alert if you haven't read it at all, but he starts traveling through alternate dimensions, and he comes to another reality where he's a stand-up comedian named Rich Ritchie. And he comes out on stage and he starts explaining to him, I'm not really a stand-up comic. I'm really a car salesman from Wallow Canyon or whatever. And everybody laughs at him like he's telling jokes. And anyway, I don't understand what's going on in the book at all, but I understand the best way to enjoy it is to just lean into it. So I'm about halfway through it. And then I'm also reading The Summing Up by W. Somerset Maugham. Are you guys familiar with him?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm enjoying it. It's he claims that it's not an autobiography and that it's not a memoir, but he wrote it when he was 64 and he's summing up his life. So you tell me. Lowtown is a sword and sorcery book that I'm reading. I may have talked about it on here before. It's by Daniel Polanski. It's sort of the HBO's The Wire meets Conan the Barbarian. It's set in a medieval town with magic. The main character is a crime lord in the rough neighborhood there, but he used to be with the police department, what passes for the police department in a medieval town. And there's a string of murders, so he winds up getting recruited by the police department to help investigate the serial killer. I'm also reading The Savage Tales of Solomon Kane,
Mm.
which is part of Michael K. Vaughan's event, Sumerian September. We've been encouraged to read anything by Robert E. Howard that we like, and so I really love Solomon Kane. Let's see, what else? The Iger Sanction. I'm still in the middle of The Iger Sanction, which was by an author named Trevanian, which was actually a pen name. I love that this guy had a one-name pen name. He was a movie critic, and The Iger Sanction's terrific. It's about an assassin who's also a mountain climber and a film critic. And yeah, it's really good. It was made into a movie starring Clint Eastwood. And let's see, Clara and the Sun. I don't know anything about it other than I've read 100 pages of it and don't quite know what's going on. It's got something to do with clones, I think, or robots. And Oliver Twist. I'm in the middle of Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. We all know what that's about. He's an orphan. And then finally, I just started this, Black River Orchard by Chuck Wendick. And man, it's fantastic. And I haven't read Moby Dick, but I've read a good portion of the beginning of Moby Dick where it talks about the whales and the etymology, and it explains throughout about whale hunting. Black River Orchard starts off in a similar way, but it's all about apples. I know more about apples and apple orchards and raising apples now than I ever thought possible. And I'm only 100 pages in.
Wow. That sounds fascinating.
But that's what I'm reading right now.
Cool. Wow. It's a cool motley collection. That's really neat.
I have
Very
eclectic book taste.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Not just books, eh, Randy?
I have eclectic taste in everything. Food, women,
Music.
music. Yes, absolutely. A lot of country western. I learned a Johnny Cash guitar solo yesterday. A lot of you know I've been taking guitar lessons for about 10 years now. Steve Donahue has encouraged me to start a guitar channel on YouTube. And I think he's trying to run me out of BookTube.
Yeah,
We'll see if I start a guitar channel, and we'll see if I leave BookTube.
I can't believe we've got 35 people watching and like only 3-4 people have actually commented or said anything.
We want to hear from you in the comments down below or to the
Michelle
right
said,
or to the left.
hello. J. Scott Phillips here. I can't believe Randy hasn't read Moby Dick.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Is that
Jason.
crazy?
I've got my copy right here. I was about to proselytize
Finished it.
until the ends of the earth, and then Randy said that, and I said, okay, I'll wait.
The Wire is incredible. Clara and the Sun is AI and social ethics, very current and appropriate. And Sarah's here. Is there anything you do, such as taking notes, etc., to be able to keep up with so many books at once? So I'm assuming, Randy, that is initially to you. How do you keep up with so many books and know what's going on in each of them?
You know, I have friends who claim they could never read multiple books at the same time because they would get confused. But I've never had that problem. I'm not confused from book to book. It's almost as if I've got a little file folder in my brain about each book, and it just keeps them in order for me. But I've never confused a character from one book with another book. I've never gotten confused about one plot from another. It might be because the books I read are so diverse, but I've noticed, you know, the same people who tell me they can't follow more than one book at a time seem to be able to follow multiple television shows just fine.
Well,
and
exactly.
I've never had a problem keeping up with the characters in, you know, Lost, for example, which, you know, my roommate was just binge watching recently, and The Cosby Show. You know, I manage, somehow my brain just keeps it all straight for me. That's how it works for me. I do take notes, but not to keep the books distinct from each other. I just take notes because mostly I highlight stuff. When I find a really great sentence that I like, I'll highlight it. Yesterday, one of the great sentences I saw had to do with a guy he was smoking a cigarette as if it were an affectation and not an addiction. And I thought that was a really fine sentence, so I highlighted that. But yeah, I just keep up with sentences and paragraphs that I really like when I take notes. Cool. That's a great question. Thank you for asking that.
It is, and I think the answer I completely agree with. I never understand that either. I think, you know, nobody watches just one show on TV. you usually watch a few over the course of an evening. So, you know, I look at it like that as well. Denson, are you somebody who has multiple books on the go, or do you kind of just read one and then pick the next one?
You know, before I started doing BookTube, I was one at a time. But now, especially because I've been doing buddy reads with people, I've been reading multiple books all at once. And like y'all said, it's funny. The human brain can pretty easily compartmentalize one from the other. So for instance, like I was reading The Tale of Genji over the course of 10 months, but within that time, I also like read The Brothers Karamazov and Moby Dick or whatever it was, lots of other books. And that world was able to stay steady and constant. Maybe there's an argument to be made for going one at a time, in terms of like, maybe in terms of having that era of your life kind of demarcated by only that book. There could be a special thing that happens with that. But for the most part, I don't mind. So right now I'm reading with, I was buddy reading this with Randy, and he sped way past me, but Travels with Charlie. I'm about halfway through it, and I'm just loving this. And then Joshua Kribo and I are buddy reading Seamus Heaney's translation of Beowulf. And Steve Donahue did a video of that. I think if we say his name one more time, we're going to end up summoning him into the call. But he did a video on Burton Raffles' old translation, which I've not read. And I love Burton Raffles' translation of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. But when I was looking at the pages of Burton Raffles' translation in comparison to Heaney's poetry, it just paled. Heaney is just a master. So I'm doing that. And then, of course, I'm doing this Moby Dick read-along on my channel right now. And this is just going back to an old friend and speaking with Ishmael and his loving prose and everything like that. So yeah, I'll do a couple at a time at this point. But in general, I always have in mind to try to stay at around 1 to 2. You know, that's just my own personality.
I mean,
you know who only reads one book at a time?
Well, me at the moment.
Steve Donahue only reads a book at a time.
Yeah, in one big.
But he reads so quickly, you know.
Yeah.
But that's my understanding too. Steve might correct me, but if I understand it correctly, Steve Donahue only reads one book at a time.
Yeah, it's a new thing for me because doing Shorty September, I'm not used to reading one book at a time. But you know, I can't, you know, because I want to try to stick to it as to the criteria as much as possible. So I can't really read. I mean, I have, of course, like you know, when I finish the book before midday, I have started the next day's book, but then of course I finish early as long as it's within the 24-hour period. But I can't really manage it, I think, if I'm doing it like this. So yeah.
You'll find when y'all are reading more than one book at a time that you end up reading more. Do you think that you just read more pages if there's more books, or do you find that if you were only doing one at a time, you would still just read a lot more of that book?
The problem is if you are geared to more towards mood reading or something, then it becomes, I don't know. I sometimes find that I can be a third of the way through a book. Something else has cropped up. Maybe I heard about it on a podcast. Maybe somebody mentioned it on BookTube, and then I start to feel really antsy about wanting to, you know, get started on it. So that leads to me picking up another one, and then yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to read one book at a time. You know, if you have any form of like reading ADHD or something like that, you know, you need to have, and sometimes you need the break from some things. You know, I think, you know, I don't think I could read something like Moby Dick now in one go as the only thing I was reading. I would probably need like a palate cleanser, you know, something to read alongside it. So yeah, I don't know really.
I have in the past read only one book at a time, and it's generally been with a huge monstrous book too, like Stephen King's The Stand or something, or The Lord of the Rings. And it's nice to immerse yourself in that one fictional world sometimes. Because I read primarily fiction, although I do like biographies too. But yeah, the sense of immersion that comes from reading just one book is really nice. But I'm a little bit like Mark. I'm also a mood reader, and people mention things on their shows. You know, I want to participate in all the reading events. And, you know, I try to be strategic about it. For example, you know, I have a book club, the Lone Star Book Club, which I think you guys are both familiar with. And when I was laying out the books for each month, I knew September was going to be Sumerian September. So the book I chose for the month for the book club was The Savage Tales of Solomon Kane. So now I'm participating in Michael K. Vaughn's event and participating in my own book club too.
Yeah, it's funny because that's like the exact same feeling I think why I described since starting BookTube and being on BookTube. I've been reading more than one book at one time simply because I want to participate in all that's happening around us. It's amazing. Yeah,
It's
but
fun.
I think
You're right. Overwhelming.
There's a good argument for all sides too about immersing yourself in the world of one large book. There's something really special about that. I definitely felt that way about reading Metamorphoses, which wasn't that large, but it's a longish poem. It's like the Iliad or the Odyssey. And that was only one phase of my life where reading Anna Karenina in high school will always have this kind of Russian flavor to it because that was what I was in at the time. And maybe you could argue that if I had tried to read other things at the same time, it would have kind of broken that up. I think both have their advantages and disadvantages, I guess.
Yeah, I think I did it actually in the end. I think I tried to vary it when I was reading Les Mis, but in the end I pulled myself and stuck to that. And then War and Peace, I definitely stayed to only War and Peace. It's true. Yeah.
I think I see
during the Victorian era.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That one.
Yeah, I was going to say during the Victorian era, I understand that books were released serially anyway. There were chapters. And so, you'd get a chapter and then a month later you'd get another chapter and a month later you'd get another chapter. That's how you would read Dickens. But I suspect that most Victorians were probably in the midst of multiple books at one time just out of necessity because that's how the books were being published.
Mm-hmm.
I read Great Expectations recently. It was the second time I've read it. And for really, really long books that would benefit from being read with nothing else on your mind, that would probably be a good one. I read it 3 chapters at a time as a buddy read with a friend of mine and was reading several other books besides. But I was gobsmacked by how good Great Expectations by Charles Dickens was. And I'd like to give it my full attention sometime and just read nothing but it for a few days.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to get to the comments. So, Joseph is here. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, Joseph.
Reading is like breathing. I can also read. I just got a feeling that might be a comment that cut off. Probably. I'm guessing you can read. So, Ariane's here. You've guilted me into commenting. I'm listening by walking the dog. Very good. Yeah. It's lovely, isn't it, to listen while walking? I have to say, I do a lot of my listening, audiobooks, podcasts, whatever, whilst out with my little dog. So, Summer's here. Hello, salutations. I'm glad I was able to catch this live. Well, we're glad you could too. Christina, same here. Before I discovered, I read one book at a time, but now I read multiple books at the same time, and I really enjoy it, and I'll never go back. Nancy, I'm a mood reader, so I need to have multiple books at once. Christina agrees there with Nancy. Michael's Backlog. That's a good name. I can only read one book at a time. William, I have the most reading success when I read more than one at a time. Sarah, I'm a one book at a time person, and if I start a series, I read all back to back.
Cool. That's really impressive.
I like to have a physical ebook and an audio book going as well. Physical ebook and audio book going.
That's an interesting. I think that having the different mediums is really, really good. So I used to listen to The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien pretty much at all times over the course of my life for like 3 years, and I listened to the whole thing through twice. And I would be reading at the same time some other book, but they felt like they were in different worlds. So that's a really interesting point.
Mike's here. As a slow reader, I need to stick to one book if it's a chunker. War and Peace, Brothers Kay. And with shorties, I'm keen to complete, so I tend to stick to one at a time. Yeah, I don't know. I agree. I don't think I could read more than one at a time at the moment when I'm trying to read one book a day. I don't know. Maybe I can try next year to juggle things around. Maybe try and read 2 books a day, see how it goes. But I love Charles Dickens. A Tale of Two Cities was one of my favorites, says Kevin. Bob the Bob. I read multiple at a time according to my interests. I don't have a problem retaining details, but I often get listless and move on to something else. Some books only get finished after multi-month gaps. Lou is here. Hey, y'all. And
Hey, hi, Bob.
finally says, I don't know why, but anything by Russian authors are always great reads for me. Discuss.
I think there's the best experience I had sticking to one book was when I was in the middle of Moby Dick for the first time, and I was doing some volunteer work in the mountains. And it was just this wonderful experience. And I ended up finding a bookstore and picked up that copy of Metamorphoses by Ovid. And I read the first couple of lines, and it swept me away. And I wanted to start reading it right away, but I didn't want to stop and move from Moby Dick, even though my mood was taking me there. So I waited. And in hindsight, I am glad I waited in that case. I think it was better for me to not kind of follow the mood, and better just to stick to the one flow thing. But like I said, maybe there's seasons. Maybe there's times for that. A lot of those comments mentioned with big books sticking to one working, and with the smaller ones not. So, yeah.
Nancy says, Our Mutual Friend and Little Dorrit are my favorite Dickens novels.
Wonderful. I haven't read either of those yet.
Oh, I like Our Mutual Friend. It's very good. Really enjoyable.
I absolutely love Charles Dickens. Before we came on the show, we were talking about big projects, lifetime reading goals, lifetime projects. And I mentioned that one of mine is to read all of Charles Dickens. And I've read a good bit. I mean, I think there's only 19 or 20 novels. And I want to say that I've read a good 6 or 7 of them, which, Charles Dickens books are long. 6 or 7 is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, and they're a lot more diverse than you might think too. When I think Charles Dickens, I think of I always think of orphans, little kids that need more gruel in their bowls. But really, his fiction is way more diverse than that. I have a friend of mine who just finished reading Bleak House, which I haven't read, but sounds fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't sound like it's going to be just the same old, hey, there's another orphan over here. Feel bad for him.
I think that seems to be the main curse of every artist who finds success, is that they get, at least in the larger cultural sense, sort of pigeonholed into their most famous, successful thing that has some sort of specific flavor, like the orphan flavor. Or one of my favorite artists is Elliott Smith, and he has this kind of great body of work that can be very sad, but it's more expansive than that. But he's really only seen as a sad artist. Bob Dylan is the accent of Bob Dylan, whereas his music is expansive. Very rarely, I think, can an artist really have their branding go out towards multiple, like the Beatles, for instance, are famous for kind of moving across different genres, but they're still pop that. So yeah, these great authors, like especially those that are today considered classic authors that have Victorian flavor to them, or Jane Austen Regency. The Jane Austen books have variation to them, but you kind of just think of one thing, which is kind of funny.
Right.
I don't know.
Margaritaville by Jimmy Buffett. It's the only big hit he ever had.
Right. I think
a lot of songs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there is a constant though, and a flavor that runs through all of them. Even even Jane Austen, really.
Yeah.
It's somehow about marriage and money.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it really? But yeah,
Stephen King would be labeled as a horror writer, even though he's written a significant amount of crime fiction at this point. But the horror supernatural stuff even sneaks into his crime fiction, doesn't it?
I haven't actually read any Stephen King, so I wouldn't know.
You've never read any Stephen King?
Never. I mean, I'm a relatively new reader in general. Sorry, Randy. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. You've got a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, you probably do. Yeah.
Although some people would disagree with me.
Yeah,
I don't know. There are a few that are. I mean, I'm not a massive super fan, but I will admit, Salem's Lot is a good read. It's a good book.
Fantastic read. Yeah. Yeah, I reread Salem's Lot last year for Halloween.
Enjoyed.
I've never gotten tired of it. It was my first Stephen King read.
I think Misery I enjoyed as well. I enjoyed also. Is it Harry Mercedes or Mr. Mercedes? I read. I quite enjoyed.
Mr. Mercedes. There's a name for those 3 books, and I can't remember what they're called.
And the one where he goes back to the Kennedy assassination. I enjoyed that.
11/22/63.
And Under the Dome, I also enjoyed. So I'm not a massive fan.
I like Under the Dome.
I quite liked it.
But I thought 11/22/63 was I thought Stephen King was probably done writing really great books until I read 11/22/63, and I was like, the old man still got it.
Yeah. No, there are definitely some worth reading, I would say, Denson. Give it a go.
Then he wrote Fairy Tale, which was just dreadful. Funny thing about Fairy Tale, it's a what do they call them? Portal fantasies, where you go from one world to another. And so the first 200 pages or so are set in our universe, but until he finds the doorway into the fairy tale universe. And that's the best part of the book. Those first 200 pages are great. Then he goes to this Land of Oz type place with the storyline. Just absolutely terrible. And that's most of the book. I think that's the next 800 pages or something. Then there's another 100 pages back in our world again. If you skip all the fairy tale stuff in the middle, which is the bulk of the book, it's a really good book. But other than that, it's terrible.
I've just been thinking, with you going off to the Orient, to Japan and stuff, and the fact that, there's 22 years between us when we did it. And I'm thinking, of course, you can just pack your Kindle and take your entire library with you. And I remember at the time, of course, I couldn't. And I had, I don't know, maybe 5 books that I could take with me, because
what did you take with you? I'm so curious to know.
Honestly, I'm absolutely honestly, I cannot remember all of them, but I definitely took Shogun. Nice. I took also Giles Milton's Samurai William, because it was the 2 things I wanted to read. And I cannot remember, but luckily I inherited the apartment I lived in, and there had been a few generations of previous English teachers who had left books behind.
Wow.
They were mostly Michael Crichton, maybe a couple of John Grisham, good stuff from that time, I suppose. And then, when I look back on it, it's like I finished Shogun and I wanted to read the rest of the Asian saga. So my parents sent me every couple of months like a little box full of stuff. And there would be one, the next book in the series in there. And I was thinking, I can't imagine how much that cost, because, they're chunkers, they're like 1,000-page books, almost all of them. Right. And then, I got it. Yeah, it was a nice experience to read those kind of things there. And then we kind of there was a small foreign community in the town I lived in and the surrounding smaller towns. And we just shared books really between ourselves.
Amazing. I mean, I imagine it'd be kind of difficult in Hokkaido to find, an English bookstore or anything like that.
Well, I mean, in Sapporo, it's a city of like 2 million people. And it wasn't that far away. You could go to Kinokuniya or somewhere like that. And it was pricey, but you could get a few good things there. But I remember for years, I hadn't, well, not years, I suppose, because I don't know when it was published first, but I used to look down, before I moved to Japan, I used to look down on adults on the tube reading Harry Potter, right? I was like, I was 23, 24 years old, and I was like, I'm never going to read that nonsense. I'm far too old for that rubbish. And then one of my Japanese students, she was, I think, maybe 13, 14, she wanted to read Harry Potter, and her parents had bought her the first one in English. And she gave it to me, and she said, could I read it so I could help her with it? And I was like, fuck's sake, do I have to? Do I have to? And so I took it home, and it was like, she asked me, have you read it yet? I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll get to it, don't worry. And then one day, of course, I thought, okay, I better do this. I picked it up, started reading, couldn't put it down, actually. I found it really enjoyable. And then when I finished it, I thought, I know that the next, I think, maybe 5 books or 6 books are out, right? So, and I don't think I had the internet, actually. Now I think of it, I used to use it at work, but I didn't have it at home. So I literally put it down, and I went to the train station. I traveled about an hour or so north to the second city in Hokkaido called Asahikawa, went to the bookshop, bought all the rest of the books, which cost me like, I don't know, well over $100 probably, just for those, and brought them back. Yeah, but I was able to sell them, because my good friend there, he was just having a baby, and he wanted them for when they were older, and he wanted to start reading to them while his wife was pregnant. So he bought them off me at a good, probably at least $50 for all of them or something,
Cool.
I guess. Yeah.
Wow.
And then
Well,
finally read the last one when I moved to Hong Kong, and luckily I had a good friend. I was working that Saturday morning, and she went shopping, and she picked it up on the day it was released, and I read it. All my friends, and because I used to teach all these Japanese businessmen in Hong Kong, and they always wanted to go drinking on Saturday night, and they were like, "Mark, are we going out after the lesson? Are we going drinking?" I was like, "Not today, lads." "Why? What are you doing? What's so important? Why are you not going drinking?" I was like, "Got Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows to read."
Yes, I love that.
That's just a wonderful story. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense too, I guess, that internationally you'd get Harry Potter. And, I'll defend Harry Potter to the end of my days. I know it's not the most popular thing on this little corner of BookTube, but I actually inherited, there was in the grade above me, a friend group of like 30 people that started a Harry Potter club. And I was like the 31st person who came to it because they had like candy. And I was a sophomore in high school or something. And then one day near the end of the year, the head of the club was like, "Well, we're all graduating and going, and you're the only other person, so you're the president now." So the next year, I was the president of the Harry Potter club. And, I remember making like, taking Lindor chocolates, white Lindor chocolates, and cutting golden snitches, and, just kind of doing that sort of thing. And it was fun. But of course, it made me go back through the books, and I really enjoyed them. But yeah, wow, what an amazing story. I was thinking about taking like big chunkers like Lord of the Rings or maybe the Canterbury Tales. But, now I've got a Kobo, and I just can do whatever. Plus, with Project Gutenberg and the Internet Archive, I can upload whatever.
You got Amazon Japan now, so you can get what you want.
Yeah.
It's different. It's a different world. That's what I mean. Just in those 2 decades, it's actually quite. I mean, maybe there was Amazon Japan. I don't remember, but it wasn't like big thing and whatever to use those kind of things. But yeah, I mean, you can get books out there. I will say though, I probably will never reread Harry Potter. I mean, it was a special moment in my life. I read it all and I'm done with it, but I did enjoy them. We do have a few comments. We'll go back here. I've missed a few. There's one there that I'm really shocked about. Where are we? Bleak House is fantastic too. Yes, it is. I'm with Sterling. Reads at least one audiobook, ebook, and physical book going at all times. I also do some immersive reading. I have only read Carol, but I didn't like it.
What?
Goodness, it's
outrageous. Don't like it itself? Wow.
I'm not sure what book to read as my Dickens second chance. I would say Great Expectations.
Great Expectations is like a drum with a hole in it. It's hard to beat.
But also, Sarah, maybe
I'll fill myself out.
Stay, please keep them coming.
Sarah, maybe give Christmas Carol another chance and do it through audiobook, because he reads the most recent version of the audiobook and he does a phenomenal job. So I would recommend that. It's a great performance. Cool. J. Scott Phillips, I usually have a book of fiction going at the same time. Yes, this is more like me. At the same time as a non-fiction, and then short stories here and there to break up, and then all those damned magazines.
Yeah.
Lou, A Tale of Two Cities is probably my favorite Dickens. I might be there. It's a toss-up for me between what's the one we just mentioned?
Great Expectations
and A Tale of Two Cities. I also really enjoyed the Pickwick Papers and Bleak House. Yeah. They're all nice. Christmas Carol. Kevin, I think Dickens paved the way for Steinbeck to write social commentary. Love Steinbeck also. The Green Mile, yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that as well, actually. Stephen King, again.
I haven't read that one. I've seen the movie, so.
The Institute, published in 2019, is my favorite King book. I don't know that one.
I just watched the first episode of the TV show, The Institute, and I loved it. I want to read the book now, which I have a copy of. So, yeah, I'm excited about it.
Mike, I've heard that Bleak House is Dickens's masterpiece. Any thoughts? I haven't read it. It's a nice read. I think it's very good. Of course, it's got a mystery to it. I don't know. I don't know if it's my favorite, though. I think I would go with Tale of Two Cities or Great Expectations, but yeah.
I've heard that Great Expectations is about the best you can expect from Dickens, but I haven't read enough of them to say definitively, and I certainly haven't read Bleak House.
Mm-hmm.
Our Mutual Friend as well. That would be there. I really enjoyed that one. I forgot that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I taught English in South Korea for several years. At first, it was difficult to get books in English, but eventually I could find English book sections in most large bookstores. Yeah, I would say even 20 years ago in Sapporo or whatever, the selection in the bookshops for English books was better than it is here in the Czech Republic, and obviously we're a bit closer and whatnot. But yeah, I've never read Harry Potter. Maybe one day. And then Summer says, Sarah, if you don't like A Christmas Carol, then we cannot be friends anymore. Okay, Summer didn't say that. Sorry. Christmas Carol. Then I would say Dickens is just not for you. Sarah, I will say, as a child, I went through a phase of obsessively watching A Christmas Carol. I wonder if I found it a slog to get through because I have just consumed the story so much. We have it.
It's easy to do with that one.
Yeah. So, BookTube time, I guess. Forget books. What about channel, YouTube, this kind of stuff? Got yourself a little gang, Denson. Have you got your little homies like Donahue and whoever?
Yeah, I mean Joshua Crebo too, and Randy. These days I'm not watching as much BookTube because I'm trying to learn Japanese, and I also work on music a lot. So I kind of it's also Randy recommended digital minimalism on his channel, so I kind of compartmentalize when I even get on my computer. So when I do, I kind of watch it in a burst of an hour, and that's kind of what I'm focused on. But I'm watching less of it than I did before. I think BookTube in many ways, like in this season of my life, has sort of given me a mental map of my reading journey, and I have a sense of, where am I even in the world? Before I was just kind of like shooting in the dark. Okay, I'm going to go from my instinct to one book to another. But now I feel like listening to all of y'all and hearing just this conversation and this discourse about books, I've gotten kind of that little mental radar. And now I'll see a book in a used bookstore and think, I want to read that someday, and I'll collect my library. So I'm tailing off of using BookTube as much as I used to, but not out of a lack of joy for it, only because there's other things in my life that I'm kind of needing to spend time on. And learning Japanese, I think, just takes some time. but yeah.
But I think you'll be surprised how quickly you can get to like communication, conversational level. It's actually not as I would say to you, the thing is probably not to obsess over being perfect or quick, you just go with it. It's it's a very contextual language, so you can get your points made with quite a low level. I mean, Randy also stay hydrated, so do excuse me while I take a swig.
Yeah, I mean that's I've always found that to be the case because I was a German major in college and I taught German, and
God, it's like looking at a younger version of myself. I did German at university as well.
Are you serious? That's so crazy.
I mean, this is what the future has in store for you, Benson, 20 years down the line.
Amazing. That's so cool. I didn't even know you're in the Czech Republic, but I've been in Prague once. And funny enough, my heritage is like not mostly Czech, but of the European mutt that I am, I think Czech takes a pretty big chunk of that. So that is kind of crazy. Lots of coincidences. But anyways, I tell people when it comes to like your goals with language learning, it can seem like certain goals are like close to one another. Like having a conversation with a native speaker one-on-one seems to be a reasonable goal as like talking with a group of German native speakers. And in reality, they're just at really different levels. And I think Japanese, it's a good piece of advice to hear from you now, is that I can reach that quick goal of connecting and conversing more quickly than I probably think right now. That's always the case.
Oh yeah, I would say it's Japanese to kind of just get conversational. I'd say it's easier than German in the end.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh really? That's so cool.
Well, because people are thrown off all the time by like obviously the different characters and the fact that Japanese grammar can be hard, but when you realize you don't actually need to learn it to get your point across, you can be very. I mean, like if you just take the sentence like tomorrow Tokyo go, ashita Tokyo iku, yeah, enough.
You're good.
Right? And everybody gets it. You don't need anything else. You don't have to flounce around going, Ashta, Tokyo, wo, ni ikimasu, whatever.
Yep.
So, where's that come from? That's been in the recesses of my mind. But, I mean, I found Japanese easier than Czech, definitely. I mean, Czech's horrible in terms of having to learn the grammar for. So, and you need to more. So, you can't just always rely on that.
Right.
Question.
Do you have any language like learning experiences that you've pursued or have any plans for?
Now, I'm too old.
Randy.
Oh, Randy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I really like Duolingo. I took German in high school and college, but I've also done Spanish and French on Duolingo. And often when I'm out on a date with a woman, I'll tell her, I've been practicing my French. And she'll say, yeah, speak some French to me. And I'll tell her, oui, oui, señorita.
Works every time.
They're always impressed.
Oh,
always.
Yeah. Oui. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's marvelous that we all know German, though. I don't speak German very well. I barely passed. In fact, my German professor was good friends with my English professor, who was a mentor of mine, who I just spoke with last week. He's 84 and doing very well. But if it hadn't been for my English professor's kind words, I don't think I would have passed German.
That's fascinating.
Mm.
Yeah. Does reading in other languages take any part of your reading life for any of y'all?
Not now. Not really. I mean, I used to read a bit in German, I guess. I did read a lot of children's books in Japanese, though, actually, when I was studying. So if you get like the little Doraemon comics or something like this, they can help, especially if you get like the not dueling.
I've got some Japanese folk tales with furigana above them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think children's content is the best way to start because it's meant to be enjoyed. And a learning textbook in general is not necessarily meant to be enjoyed, And
I think when you come to learning kanji, you should go to like the bookshops there and buy what the kids learn, buy the little practice, because it's one of those things, obviously, where people necessarily don't realize that in Japanese the stroke order is important, which is to me like a needless. Well, there's not. At first, you think it's a needless thing, but the more you understand, you realize, okay, it actually makes sense.
It helps you memorize it because all of the radicals are sitting in.
Exactly right.
Yeah, and I have James Heisig's Remembering the Kanji that I've been going through.
The water radicals and whatever else. Yeah. What's I forget the name of the two pronunciations, the Chinese and the Japanese.
Onyomi and Kunyomi.
Yeah.
So it's a goal of mine, having just finished The Tale of Genji. Maybe what you were saying earlier, Randy, is like if you have a life goal, if I could learn Japanese and read a modernized version of The Tale of Genji, that would be a significant reading accomplishment in my life that would make me die happy, I think.
Why do you want to read the modernized version? It's more fun to read it in its
so much fun going back. It's so funny reading about Japanese scholars who would rather read the English translations because they don't know who the subject is. They don't know who's talking, which is amazing. So yeah, I will see. I know that there was that Japanese, I don't know if priest is the right word, but she was a 99-year-old like monk, and she passed away, and she modernized the Tale of Genji and gave it a harsher treatment than a lot of the male translators. Tale of Genji is written by women, but a lot of the events going on don't have any conception of consent, and she characterizes them as rape and all these crazy things. And so I would be interested in maybe trying to read the first chapter of her translation in Japanese, maybe a year or two down the line. But we'll see.
You read the Heike yet or not?
No, but I actually went to my public library because it was the only one in my kind of public library sector that had a copy of the Rowatala translation. And I just opened it and flipped through it. And I know it's not what I need to be reading at this point in my life. My instinct just tells me that. But that's kind of the companion piece that I have in my head as being the thing to follow The Tale of Genji.
Yeah, I read both that and I think Helen Craig McCulloch's version as well. Yeah, I really like it, actually. I'm a big fan of that. And there's a really nice little book, which is a really good, just kind of introduction to it all. And it's by a guy called Jonathan Clements, and I think it's called Just a Brief History of the Samurai or something. And he just does a really nice job in, like, 250, 300 pages, and really just kind of setting you up. And there's nice bibliography and stuff as well. So if it's something for people who don't know anything about it, then it's good. But I guess you probably
I don't know anything about the samurai. I know much more about Heian Japan than I do any of the boring feudal periods. It's kind of
You've got to learn to speak like a samurai as well. They love it when you can say thank you as a samurai in the pub or something. They will just really love it.
Yeah. What is the there's that samurai conjugation that gozaru or something like that.
Katajike naide gozaru.
Exactly. Yeah, that's crazy. Sorry, Randy. I don't know why we're talking about Japanese right now.
You wouldn't say watashi. Yeah, you don't say watashi if you're a samurai. You say seisha. Seisha.
Yeah, for those listening or watching who have no knowledge about Japanese, which I assume would be, I guess, most of us, is that you can sort of conjugate, in a sense, your own sentences that refer to your own rank as a speaker. And there's one that is outdated nowadays that is the samurai version of that. So if you say that today, it's just kind of a joke. It's almost like an anime joke. But early in our relationship with my girlfriend, when I would speak Japanese, I'd mostly just use the samurai conjugation just because why not? But yeah,
there's a phrase which always made me laugh. It's something like "kuruste gomen" or something like that. Kuruste gomen. I can't remember. But like the English translation of it is extremely long. It's like, "Please forgive me, for I am about to cut you down, as is my right."
Yeah.
Like literally this short phrase, "Kuruste gomen." And it's like, please forgive me because I'm about to cut you down, as it is my right to do so. So
wow. Yeah.
We have a question.
In the comments?
Oh, we have a question for you, Denson. Only for Denson, though, Randy. Not for you and not for me, sadly.
Sorry, boys.
How large is your current library, and will you be moving it in its entirety to Japan with you?
I will not. I can barely move it up the stairs as it is right now. But I basically, since starting BookTube, gone to a bunch of library sales and done a lot of used book shopping, and have kind of accrued the main central books that I want. I'm learning, funny enough, right now, I'm allergic to dogs and cats like dust. So like a lot of those books, I put them all in my room, and then suddenly I couldn't sleep at night because I was like breathing it all in. So I stored a bunch of them in like a large box, and I documented and kind of cataloged all of them. Oh, I know, it's a curse. I know, it's literally like being cursed is to be allergic to dogs. But anyways, so considering how difficult it was just to travel to Japan for vacation, I will be taking my Kobo, my Libra Cobra, and just reading mostly on that. There's maybe one to 5 books from my library that I'll take with me. I'm considering taking Lord of the Rings, like I mentioned earlier. I think The Narrow Road to the Deep North by Basho I'll be taking. And maybe like your experience, Mark, if I feel a strong urge to have a physical book that I know is back home, I'll get my dad to send me a care package. But it's like sending the book might be the cost of buying the book new in Japan. So who knows?
True. I think you can get some very nice editions of Japanese works that have been translated. I had a very nice 3-volume like pocket set of the history of Japan by some, I don't know, Victorian, I can't remember his name. And I left it with my ex, and I left a few books there with her. And I don't know, as far as I know, they're probably still in her garage in Hokkaido if she hasn't got rid of them. But that's the problem, I ended up leaving so many things around and with other people. You just remind me, actually, there's one behind me. I'm just going to get it. So just wait.
She left them where?
In her garage. Yeah, in her garage.
Well, if I make my own, maybe I can grab them from her if she doesn't need them.
Yeah.
I'll have to remember that garage. I love that pronunciation.
I know. Well, I mean, we've fallen.
I don't think she's. I don't think she lives there anymore. But there were a few, books that I definitely had from there, and these are 2 of them. This one's very good. It might be outdated now, I suppose. But there's this one here, The Rose to Sata, 2,000-mile walk through Japan by Alan Booth. He was an Englishman who walked the length of Japan, and it's really nice because he goes to so many different places. He even walked through the small town that I lived in as well. And then this is his second. Is it second, or was this one the first one? I don't know. Looking for the Lost: Journeys Through a Vanishing Japan. So you get all these kind of specialists or little books that maybe you would never have heard of unless you're in Japan, you know. So
well, I mean, I would love to read both of those because it's a goal of my partner in mind to hike the Pacific Crest Trail, which is like 2,500 miles or something like that. But walking Japan would be another amazing kind of like life goal for us. It'd be so cool.
You should read, and it's good fun as well. It's a funny read. Canadian guy Will Ferguson. It's called Hokkaido Highway Blues.
Hokkaido Highway
Blues. I can't remember if he starts. I think he doesn't start in Okinawa, does he? No, but he starts in the far point of I don't know. Oh my God, Shikoku, Honshu. What's the other one?
Kyushu.
Obviously Hokkaido. Kyushu.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And he hitchhikes, but the idea is that he's chasing, or he's following at the same time, or chasing the sakura as it goes up Japan. You know, because it does vary. But it's such a funny ride because he hitchhikes basically and chats to people and everything.
I've had a fantasy of following the autumn leaves, but following the cherry blossoms as they bloom. Great. Wow, you're giving me a lot to think about because that's like exactly my spirit and what I would like to do with my time there. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to do it while I'm working, but maybe we save up and then quit the job and then go through it. That would be a wonderful experience. But no, J. Scott Phillips, I won't be taking the whole library there. Unfortunately, it would probably destroy me financially, and also maybe destroy my back. But the modern era with ebooks, I think I'll be all right.
I think you'll end up picking up a few books, and then if your partner's Japanese, not American Japanese.
Yes, she is.
So who knows? You might end up staying there and end up building a new library anyway. So
that's definitely a possibility. We shall see. Yeah.
Where are we? We've got a few more comments here regarding the fascination with Moby Dick. Do you have interest also in the author, his life, the time in which he was living, and how all of that informed the story and his writing?
I do. Now, I haven't dug into it. I haven't read any of the major Melville biographies, but I have read a lot about the process that he went into in writing Moby Dick. It's so fascinating to me. Something that some of my viewers might know is that I make music. It's kind of what I spend almost all my time on. And I have these big musical projects that I'm working on, these albums. And, that experience, a lot of times will go into a room. For me, it'll often be this room. And that'll be in the morning. And I'll kind of enter this hypnosis and step out of it at 4 p.m., having forgotten to eat and like I'm dehydrated and I just kind of in a mesmeric state. Roald Dahl would describe that in his process when he would be writing his books. And Melville had purchased basically this land in Massachusetts called Arrowhead, so it could be close to Nathaniel Hawthorne. And, he would have to give orders to his family to knock on his door and not stop so that he would come to the door and eat when he was writing Moby Dick. And I know I read a lot of his letters to Nathaniel Hawthorne and just different sections like why read Moby Dick when Nathaniel Philbrick goes into the process behind how he wrote it. And so it's fascinating to me whenever there's a creative work that I love, how that artist lived when they were making the work. What were they reading? What were they experiencing? All of that is just delicious to me. I don't know why. And then, of course, it informs the reading experience. And you go into Moby Dick. And, of course, knowing that Melville had bought a collected volume of large type versions of all of Shakespeare, his eyesight was failing him and he had to write with a green crayon and all that. Knowing that, of course, you see Shakespeare all throughout Moby Dick and you see the language and, you see he starts sentences like with how now? And you're like, oh, okay, this guy is just kind of digging from it. So I do have a fascination with it, but I haven't yet delved into it in a scholarly way, just more in a curious way.
You need to stock up on your Delphi Classic, then, I suppose, so you can carry around complete works of all these authors.
Yeah.
They're just ebooks that specialize in complete works in one, thing. So they're pretty
great. I really should. I have most of Melville's major works on my Kobo, but I don't know if I have external, like for instance, the letters to Hawthorne.
They tend to include things like that, which is really nice.
Yeah,
criticism.
The Delphi collections are wonderful.
Cool. Okay, let's look them up. Really cool.
Yeah, they're like a pound, like $1.
Yeah, they're really cheap.
Cool.
For what you get, it's amazing.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Well, we have one more comment. Ariane's here, back from walking the dog. I'm slowly working my way through Dickens. As for Stephen King, I would like to read Stand. There we have it. Yes. We're coming up to the hour mark, and usually I have to break off, and I probably do because somebody here does need to go out, and it's already dark. I don't know how. Last week, Randy, I remember saying I have to go before it gets dark.
Right.
And we finished at the same time. But it's already dark, so I don't know. Maybe it was raining before, so maybe it's part of the reason. But it is pitch black out there, so.
Well, I want to be the first one to say it has been a thrill having Denson on, and we're going to have him on again soon.
This was so great chatting. Thank you.
From Japan,
Really fun.
I won't be there for a little while. It'll be a couple more months, but yeah, when I'm in Japan, if we can find it, yeah.
I always leave a conversation with Denson wanting to read more, and the same with Mark. I always leave a conversation with Mark wanting to read more, which is one of the great blessings of BookTube. That, and I have the complete works of Melville and Steinbeck on my Amazon Kindle, thanks to the Duffy collection. So, they should probably pay us a commission at some point, Mark.
You should just give us the whole lot free, frankly.
Yeah,
that would be ideal.
Well, I feel the exact same way. I feel like I'm going to go tuck into my couch and just like get into Beowulf and Travels with Charlie,
Very nice.
See, I'm wanting to reread now. I can't because I'm doing Shorty September. I think, oh my God, yeah, I really love this book. I've got to read it. It's been 20 years.
Yeah. I'm going to email you and get the names of those because those sound fascinating. Those sound perfect for this era of my life. Yeah. Considering that I'm following exactly in your footsteps, at least.
You are. It's weird. Yeah. Oh, not
Y'all
too
have about convinced me to read Harry Potter too.
Yeah, I'll have to read Harry Potter in Japan now. I guess it's compulsory.
Yeah, try and read it in Japanese.
You know what?
Japanese
that actually would not be a bad idea. So, like, I have The Hobbit in German, and that was a good way for me to go through it. And I know the story of Harry Potter well enough that I could probably glean the sentences. So, who knows?
I have Harry Potter in ancient Greek, so
wow.
I'm ready yet, though. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for those of you as well who commented. Thanks to Randy, of course, as always, and a special thank you to Denson for being our new guest, and definitely will not be the last time he appears here. Thanks, everybody. Do take care. All the best. Cheerio.
Bye.